After watching this video, I'm very confident that you're going to be able to make any music video very epic with just 2 lights. Let's get right into the video. What's up guys, this is Kobe Short. If this is your first time getting over here on my channel, please don't forget to subscribe. And if you are very interested in photography as well, I do that as well here. So you are in the right place. Today there's just a couple of things I want to brush over using just 2 lights to make this music video that I shot a couple of months ago look very crisp and epic. We are going to go through the light modifiers, the lights themselves, the camera setup that I used, the location, the light positions that gave me the diversity of the looks, and the color choice from the lights. So first of all, let's talk about the light modifiers. I'm not going to touch on the lights itself first because the light modifiers actually gives us the type of light quality that we might want. It as well alters the light quantity as well. So it's prudent enough to look at them first, then we talk about what lights I used. I used a softbox and a 7-inch cone on either light. Alright, so the softbox is on my key light, which is of course going to soften the light and give me a very wrapping effect across everywhere, especially on my subjects. And the 7-inch cone sits right on top of my rim light, which is also of course going to carve my subject out of the background. I decided to go with a relatively small softbox so that I can get more contrast than normal. If I would go for a very large softbox, it's going to soften every light and reduce the light quantity. So the quality I was looking for was contrast, and the quantity will be a little bit more outpour to give me harsher lights to an extent, but still maintain my lights touching just my subject, or is very minute area that I wanted to cover. And the 7-inch cone is going to give me a harsher light that's going to be very conspicuous so you can see it. So with the light modifiers explained, let's talk about the lights themselves. I'm using an SL60W for my key light, which is enough for the space that I'm shooting in, which I'm going to touch on very soon. And it has a daylight white balance, which is approximately 5600 Kelvin. And it's going to give me that punchy look, and because it has a very good CRI, it's going to render the skin tone of my subject very well, as well as almost every color that you see in the space. It's going to give me accurate colors, so I don't run into any issues when I'm color grading during post-production. And the light on which the 7-inch cone sits is the Ambitful FL80 RGB, which the RGB stands for, the multiple lights I can cycle through. So we have the red, the blue, the green across all other colors, purple and what have you. So that gives me more creative, control over the kind of light and the look that I want the ambience to have. But predominantly I use it as my rim light so that I could just get a sheen or a kiss of light on my subject. And even though you see it modifying or enhancing what the light's color or the ambience looks like, it still looks quite reasonable because of the light position, which I'm going to talk about very soon also in this video. Now jumping straight up to my camera setup, I use the Blackmagic Pocket Cinema Camera 6K Pro. Sitting on it is the 18 to 35 mm 1.8 lens from Sigma, the art lens. And for stabilization purposes, I use the Zion Crane 3S throughout the shoot to give me very stabilized shots for the camera movement I was going for. And one thing that I love about the Blackmagic Pocket Cinema Camera 6K Pro is that it's a cine camera compacted with all the features that you definitely want to have when you're shooting. It offers dual ISO features, which reduces the amount of noise that your camera generates or your footages may have, especially in low light situations, which my location can fall under. And with the 18 to 35 mm lens, I'm allowed to have a variety of focal lengths that I can go through. If I want to go all wide, I can go. If I want to push in a little bit towards the subject and and blur the background because of the compression, together with that subject isolation, that informed my lens choice. And with the Zion Crane 3S, it's a heavy duty, heavy payload gimbal, which can allow me to use this heavy setup that I have set on the gimbal. And actually the upside to this heavy setup is that it adds more stabilization to the camera setup, and when I'm performing the camera movements, I'm able to stabilize the shots even further. This particular location, as you can see, is an apartment, right? So the space in there wouldn't be as big like what I have right now, and because it's not that big, every light can be intensified, especially with the color of the walls. The color of the walls are white predominantly, and everything that gets in the way is probably because of the tight space that we have. Okay, so I had my subject reposition themselves across the shoot. He was sitting in the sofa first of all, and the sofa is gray in color, so I was able to work with achromatic colors. with the colored LED lights that was having from the right hand side of the camera, which is my rim light. And as it hit the white spaces as well as the gray spaces, it could take up the light quality and the light features. There's a second space that I shot a second sequence where my subject was sitting right against a very white wall and he was wearing white. So I placed the lights, the RGB LED lights, right down there to shoot against the wall that he was sitting up against. And when the lights washed up the wall, it gave me that quality, and I ensured that it wasn't as bright as my key light so that I could still single out my subject from the background. So light intensities or the light quantities should also vary when you're using them. You have to ensure that what's important takes up more light, unless you're going for a different effect. But this is what I went for. I needed to make my subject stand out, and so the light that was hitting the background wasn't as harsh as my key light. So that's how I managed to get this particular look. Still talking about light positions, you notice that the proximity of my light is informed by how much intensity I want the light to touch my subject at. If I increase the intensity of the light, it's going to alter the look I'm going for. So basically what I normally go for is a contrasty look, which means that if I have a large light source, like let's say a very large softbox to modify my SL60W, I'm going to get too much light hitting almost everywhere. So choosing this relatively small softbox is going to allow me to accurately hit my target or my subject without spilling too much light around because of small light source. And once I get it even closer to my subject, it adds a bit more punch to just my subject, reducing how much light is hitting everywhere or bouncing across everywhere in the room. And I kept my rim light always positioned in this first scene right next to my subject from behind, rimming his figure depending on where I had my camera pointing towards. So mind you, light positions can alter the light quality and the light quantity that hits your frame or your subject. So sending your light far back throws a whole lot of light to bounce everywhere, and when you have your lights closer to your subject, it hits just one area, one particular area that wouldn't spill too much around. So with the color choice, we're going to talk about the space, which is the location, and also the lights that I use to complement what color. Initially, I spoke about the achromatic colors in the room, and the only color that stands out so much in the space without my subject under consideration is the pillow on the sofa, which is the yellowish in color. So I needed to get a color that would complement that. So I went for the teal to hit my subject, and it really resonated a whole lot with the yellow color of the pillow in the seat. And because the seat is actually an achromatic color, I was able to, give it the qualities of the light that I was shooting from the RGB as the rim light. And when we look into the second space, which is a white space, you notice that the color that I chose for the background once again was something that will stand out. Because it's a white background, every light that hits that background gets the properties, and it really reflects and intensifies the look, and it washes up the entire surface of the background because it's white. I maintained the daylight white balance for my key light and repositioned it as I wanted. So it was still the same color coming out, but different colors for the background if I needed to change my RGB's color properties to change my background in a whole. So yeah, basically that's how I use two lights, just two lights with different properties, of course, some that are very advantageous and those that can be shortcomings, but I used it to the fullest potential, and I maximized what I could do with it with the space, which looked already good, but we were able to dress it with just two lights to get these looks. So yeah, I'm sure that you can also be confident to take it up and try it on your own, because practice will definitely get you there. Thank you very much for watching this video to the very end. If you haven't subscribed, please do so. Turn on the post notification button, share, like, comment. Yeah, and I'm going to catch you next time, the next video. Have a wonderful day. See ya.